All right. So right about now, we are about to head to join Hamisi Mboga, who is now joining us via Zoom to talk to us. There you have him. Hamisi, good morning, if you can hear me. Hamisi, good morning and good to see you.
Good morning and thank you again. I'm also happy to see you.
All right.
After a long time.
Very well. How is Mombasa? Let's start with that. How is Mombasa?
The weather is very nice for tourists. It's not that hot and it's not that cold, so you can always come in.
Are you trying to make us? Are you trying to make us jealous? Are you trying to make us jealous, Hamisi? Now that we are in Nairobi.
I deal with facts. Look at the booking. Bookings are 65–70% hotels.
Yes. And that, of course, is a good move for the economy.
When you come, if you don't have places in a hotel, you can stay. You can stay with us.
I know where to find you. No problem. I know where to find you. Okay, Hamisi, let's go straight into this. We have vetting happening, and this being the third day, we've had so many. So far, 10. Today we are having the next batch of 5. I don't know, what is your take on the ongoing at the county hall here in Nairobi?
Victor, I'm happy that the vetting is going on. I'm happy that at least there's an exposure of the people who are going to take offices, so that we have an idea of who they are, what they stand for,
yes,
what are they worth about, and this is a good positive.
All right. Let me see.
Positive thing. What is me is because I was vetting the other time. Does it? Yes.
All right. It seems that we are losing Hamisi there. Coming to us live from Mombasa, and of course, let me just take you through a rundown on who are the names that we should expect today at the vetting panel. Starting 9 a.m. Of course, today being the 19th day of October. Wednesday, we have got Honorable Onesimus Kipchumba Murkomen, who is poised to be the Roads, Transport and Public Works CS. We have got Honorable Rosalinda Soipan Tuya for Environment and Forestry. Next one is Honorable Penina Malonza, poised to be that for Tourism, Wildlife and Heritage. We have got Mr. Zekaria Mwangi Njeru for Lands, Housing and Urban Development, and finally Miss Susan Nakumisha Wafula for the Health Docket. So those are the 5 who are set to be at the County Hall today to face the panelists ahead of their grilling. Yesterday we had several candidates. We had Kithure Kindiki, Professor Njuguna Ndungu, Honorable Aisha Jumwa Karisa Katana. We had Davis Chirchir Kimutai, and of course finally Honorable Moses Kuria in that order. Of course, these they have got 28 days to do this before they hand over their names to the president for official appointment and subsequent swearing in to start their service to the nation in the new dispensation. All right. Do we have Hamisi now? All right. So, Hamisi, you are saying, what is your take on the ongoings at the county hall?
Victor was saying that this is good because at least we'll have an idea of the 22 people who are going to have these big jobs and who are going to deal with services that the Kenyans want.
Right.
It's nice to know their background, to know their strength, their capacities and capabilities. This is good because at least when they come to talk to us, we know they have millions in their pockets. But what does it matter? Have we ever seen somebody after saying I have so much convicted because of having more money? I think it's nice to know, but does it affect their position when they become ministers or they become CSs in the next 5 years. So the exposure is good because we have an idea who Aisha Jumwa is, we have an idea who Professor Ndungu is. This is good. And it's a mixture. I'm happy because there's a mixture of skills, mixture of ages. So I think this is good for a start. But what is the purpose of vetting? It's a big question which I think people can start discussing. The value of this vetting, if anything. So let's go there. We are having our ministers, and we know exactly who they are.
So what is the importance of vetting? Now that you've asked that question, let me throw it back to you. What is the importance? Because it's a practice that we borrowed from the West.
When you go to vetting, yeah. The importance of vetting, if I would be able to children, is to know whether they have a bad background which will affect their services when they are in place, and if so, what happens? Do you discard them? Do you tell them to go and reevaluate themselves? But anyway, this is good for us to be able to know who is coming to sit on our ministerial positions. But the aspect of how much are you worth, does it affect your performance? These are some of the political and also intellectual questions that we have. There are people who may come without financial worthiness, but they can perform. So we must emphasize on performance, on the skills that are required for that particular job. When you go for a particular job, there are specific skills that you require. Do they have them? If they have them, give them the job. If they make a mistake, take them to court.
All right. And of course, the issue of inquiring one's financial strength and background, I believe this is something that is left for other bodies like the EACC, the DCI to handle. Is it in the place of Parliament? And even if Parliament, inquires about one's financial muscle and background, how important is it to the common mwananchi?
It's important because Parliament is representing the Kenyans. If there's something that can affect Kenyans, the parliamentarians are the ones who can say, watch out. Or if there's a big issue, then Parliament can sometimes, when it sits like make a decision or can recommend a decision that this one must be cleared by DCI, must be cleared before we really consider. So they have an important role of checking up exactly who we are and what we can do, but also they are our eyes, the oversight for services that will be produced by people who will be employed by this government. So they have a big role, but when does it end, the role? Immediately after vetting? Do they follow up these ministers, what they do, these CSs, and what they do in their operation? Because we have had CSs, we have had issues, and Parliament has not come up to be able to reprimand them.
Hamisi, one thing which is quite trivial here is some of the candidates and the nominees have criminal backgrounds, cases still pending in court. What do you think that the message is being sent out there to the Wanjiku, the Hamisi of this world, and anybody else?
My take, Victor, is that I think the court is letting us down. If you look at some of the cases, if you look, some of the issues have been mentioned for years. How long does it take to be able to prosecute and whether they are guilty or not guilty? Some of the cases are dragging, and this is a worrying situation. That is one side. The other side is, I think we should let the people who are in charge of checking of the law finish their job before we get somebody into a position. So there are two ways of looking at it. One, why are the cases taking too long? If somebody made a mistake last year or a few months ago, fine. But somebody made a mistake 10 years ago. How long does it take to prosecute a case like that has been there for 10 years? So we blame the court also. And they should tell us why they are not finishing the cases that they have in their hands. So we have both plus and minuses, and this is interesting because if all those 22, if half of them have cases, do we stop or do we ask the president to nominate other people so that we can? It will take long before you have a full cabinet which is clean like a white cloth. Why don't we start from where they are and then move them and let the court do its job? Halfway, if the court says they're guilty, you can always have somebody else take their place.
All right. A very quick one. And when you look at their backgrounds, of course, you've said that it's now the disappointment from the courts of justice because some of the cases are still dragging. But Hamisi, if you look at, back in the days, we had some powerful ministers way back in the Kibaki's government. Some of them were not allowed to serve in the cabinet once someone was mentioned in a scandal or just, an allegation was leveled against a candidate. But here we are. Some of the candidates have got questionable and active cases in court. Do you really think that this statement of step aside should come back?
It's good to implement that one, but also look at the human rights aspect. You are telling me to step back, but I'm not guilty, and this is an opportunity that I've been given. So we have to, again, this is a double sword. One, we should not be able to have somebody who has a case that has not been completed, and therefore the stepping aside is a good option. But also we should not punish and penalize somebody who is guilty or who is not guilty until proven guilty. The leaders are using this, I'm not guilty until proven guilty. If you are guilty, you are guilty, whether you are proved or you are not proved. But anyway, for the purpose of human rights aspect and consideration of individuals' character, let's prove them guilty or let's prove them not guilty. But the stepping aside, I would recommend, because at least somebody is given an opportunity to go and clear their names, clear their cases, and then they can always come back. The president can always, if they like you, if the president of Kenya likes Hamisi and is cleared in all cases, he can still appoint him in that position or any other position that of leadership.
All right.
That's my take, Victor.
Absolutely. Today we have got several names, and of course 5 today. Yesterday we had Aisha Jumwa, Kithure Kindiki, Davis Chirchir, Moses Kure, and of course Njuguna Ndung'u. Let's just get back to where it all started. How important is this vetting? Because it's a borrowed practice from the West to us here in Kenya.
Sometimes when you borrow, especially in a technical, professional, and academic method, you don't take the whole thing. You adapt, and you adopt. You look at the aspects that are good for us and are workable, and then you use them. But when you adopt everything, let's wait. The way we've been doing it in our kind of environment, longer for us to be able to realize. And some people can use it to punish you.
Yeah.
This one, we hear that he ate this, what do we call it? Bursary fund, he ate something, and you don't have the proof. So yes, when we borrow, but let's adapt. Let's modify it so that it suits our current environment. Otherwise, somebody was saying, tell me who has not eaten in Kenya. And it will be very difficult to have somebody who has not eaten anything that belongs to somebody else. So are we going to shuck everybody else? Victor, we must have eaten something, even if it is small. So why don't we do like the religious books say? I'm saved now. From now, I'm not going to drink. From now, I'm not going to steal. From now, and then we see how the skills that they have can help us develop this country.
Okay, so let me ask you, what do you make of the framing of the questions at the vetting process?
Something was worrying me yesterday. If you hear the people from Azimio side, they are kind of really bringing, they want to know the issue, or they want to assure that the people who have been nominated have some cases. If you hear the people from the other side, they are kind of protecting them. So even the vetting group, I'm worried about it. They should change. When they sit there as a vetting panel, let them not align themselves or their mind in terms of where they come from. They are members of parliament. They were elected. Let them do the job that parliament does. But yesterday there were some areas where we could see somebody is trying to protect so-and-so, and somebody is also trying to attack. That aspect, I think that the team must improve this today and maybe later.
All right. Okay, Hamisi, I'm quite interested in understanding some of these positions. And of course, this is a question that I've been asking my guests here in studio. What do you make? We have got people who have got technocratic background and politicians. Should we go for such, or just a blend, or pure politicians in the cabinet?
We should have a blend. Should have blended cabinet so that you benefit from experiential. You may be good at mathematics, but you may be very bad at decision making. So let's blend our cabinet in such a way that it has both the technocrats, but also the leadership. Especially, I'm taking leadership at a broad level in terms of political environment and social environment. So let's blend, but while we blend, let's get the best of the blended. But to have all technocrats. One time, I think in Kenya, we were told we were going to have all technocrats. They didn't survive 2 years.
Yeah.
You need a mixture, because this is a political government, this is a political system. You need also people who can punch some politics into some areas.
Yeah.
And more so, their job is service provision. And starting from there, then let's focus, can they provide the services that have been identified in those ministries? And if they do, how do we know they are performing? Have we done assessment? Have we done appraisal? Have we done an evaluation? Have we moved to some people because they're not performing? So those are some of the aspects that after appointment, then strategies must be put in place to ensure that the performance is graded, is respected, the performance is evaluated, and who cannot do, please let them go home. We have over 40 million people who can do the job.
Okay, so in every transition, now we are in this phase right now, from the last dispensation of the governance, and now we enter a new one. Certain aspects and principles of you phase out whatever happened in the last regime into a new one, undo to do kind of principle. Do you really think that is what should be happening here at this particular regime?
My political interest, my political and professional interest in this is to look at who was there before and who is there now. If majority of the people who are in this government were in the other government, then it's a continuation. But if majority of the people who are in this government are new, then it's kind of evaluation of the performance of the people. If I close my eyes, majority of these people we are now interviewing were in the last government a few months ago. So is it continuation? Is it changing? And sometimes I get interested when somebody say that government and somebody was there. Let's be honest. Let's improve, because performance is improvement, leadership is improvement, but not say everything that happened was bad or everything that will happen is good. Show it so that people can take credit. Suppose there is a big function, a big project that was initiated before and is now complete. Is it bad, or do we complete it and appreciate it? It is a good function. It is a good project for the country. So this is where the honesty and integrity comes in, and also appreciate even the small thing that was done before, so that we appreciate what you will be doing in the next 5 years.
All right. Hamisi, just hold on there. Hamisi, back to you. The question that I'm still interested in asking you, the issue of undo to do kind of principle in the transition of governance. We've even seen this happening even in America, where from Barack Obama's regime to Donald Trump's regime, they tend to undo certain things in that government to suit their agenda and manifesto. Do you think that should be happening here in the country now that we have got the Big Four agenda and the SDGs ahead of us?
In terms of development and of our country, you just don't undo, because if you undo, the other person will come undo. Let's evaluate what has happened, which is good, which can continue, and let it be done that way. Because if we undo everything that was happening, then you're stopping. A lot of resources were used, both skills and money. And then when you undo, it means you are stopping that one, and it was already spent, and you won't see the value of it. But let's undo those things that we feel would affect the system of service provision, and let's do those that will assist a quick provision of services. Somebody has mentioned about, in fact, look at education, look at anything. If you look at health, let's evaluate which aspects can we do. A few years ago, or call it many years ago, before 844, we had the other system. They said this other system is not working, and those who are saying the one before 844 was not working are the professionals that pass through roads, and they're the ones making a recommendation. It's interesting. Now, if you say 844 is totally useless and therefore we go to full CBC, that's my take. It's like overturning this. If you look at CBC, it's all about the same thing, education of our people. Yeah. So let's see, what else can we do? More practicals? Is it more examination? Because one of the things that have affected this country, having been a teacher for over 20 years, was emphasis on examination. You can say that if you give some people who are not good in maths, but they're very good in art, they perform. So why don't we look at that aspect? What do we promote? Skills? Do we promote examination in terms of figures and numbers?
Okay.
So what I'm saying, let's choose the ones that improve. Let's keep them. Let's see those that are dragging us down. Let's reshape them. In fact, the only thing is to reform, reshape, reevaluate, and continue, because education is continuous.
Yeah.
Just as an example.
Okay. Hamisi,
so don't disband.
All right. Hamisi, let's take a break. And when we come back, I still want us to talk about more issues to do with Chapter 6, because it's on trial. The new dispensation under 2010 Constitution, Chapter 6, is perhaps our yardstick in terms of appointments and public office appointments. Let's take a break. We'll be right back with more after this. Let's come back to Hamisi here in studio. Hamisi joining me via Zoom all the way from Mombasa. Hamisi, we've just witnessed what's happening at the Supreme Court. Probably just let me get your voice on that. What do you think?
Victor, that is very good, because we don't want an office to stay without an official representative, so that the work continues. It's a very big office, important office, therefore it's nice that he should start his work this afternoon, not even tomorrow, so that we can be able to dispense with justice.
And of course, his swearing in coming just days after President raised a red alarm over the extrajudicial killings from the disbanded SSU. What do you really think, and perhaps let me just get your point, what do you think he should do to change the tainted name of the DCI?
If anything, because we have had a lot of cases about police shooting, police, hijacking. He should quickly find out and give us an example of 1 or 2 people who have been doing that, and also we see they are taken to court, and that will give an example for those who are believed to be doing that, and those who have done that in the force, they should also be told to go home, because actually the image is not excellent as we stand today. If you hear people don't report things to police, because you may report to police, you get fired, and also the people whom you have reported are safe. So people have that fear of reporting any bad thing, because they can be able to be affected themselves.
Yeah.
So to clean that image, to change that image, in a matter of a month, we can see a good example if he's serious about his job.
And of course, the president is also quite stern on the police operations in the country. Remember, during the campaign period, he said that the chiefs, or the so-called the administrative wing of the government, should be let to do their job, not the political aspect. But then now, just to get your point on this again, we have the new DCI boss. Perhaps, I know it's too early to compare, but how would you rate Kinoti's performance during his reign?
Kinoti, to some of us, was doing a good job, but if this new person can do a better job, that's better. But then we were worried about his doing a good job, but his people were kind of doing bad things. So I think there were both good things and bad things in the force during Kinoti's time, and this can be corrected so that we can see the difference. And you don't need a month to show the difference. Like you must, if there's a system of checking the take them to court so that they can present their cases, if any. And then where are these people who got lost? Those people who disappeared? Who made them disappear? And these cases are as long as 2010, 2013. There are people who have disappeared and we don't know the trace of it. There are people who have died and we don't know until just do one case so that people say, oh yeah, it can be done. It was done 5 years, somebody died, but we know the culprits are XYZ. I think that should be the motto.
All right. Hamisi, imagine you are given 5 minutes with the new DCI boss. What would you advise him to do as he takes reign of office?
Change the whole system, change position. Sometimes when you are in a new office, just shake it up. We call it shake it up. Look at the skills, look at those who have been doing something, move them up a bit. You'll get some information and you can be able to operate. If you leave the system the way it is, sometimes we have a culture. In public service, we have a culture. This is the way we do it. This has been done for many years. So if you're a new broom, please come and sweep by changing a few things, and then you can discover. The public will tell you. The public have a lot of information. And now that he has given his telephone communication, you can really get to him so that he knows exactly what the public think about the police and those special groups like DCI, SSI.
Yeah.
He should do something about it.
Absolutely. All right. Hamisi, just to end on that, let's come back to the issue of vetting that is about to begin in a few minutes from now. I believe in the next 5 or 10 minutes to speak. Today we have Honorable Onesmus Kipchumba Murkomen, who is poised to take that position of roads, transport and public works. We have Honorable Rosalinda Soipantuya for environment and forestry. We have Honorable Penina Malonza, who is a former, so to speak, deputy governor For lands, for tourism and wildlife, I beg your pardon, and heritage, we have got Mr. Zachariah Mwangi Njeru, lands, housing and urban development, and finally Ms. Susan Nakumincha Wafula for health. What's your take on this list, Hamisi, for the nominees who are set to have their seat today?
Just checking their background, I think they are all capable Kenyans. For example, Murkomen is a long-standing lawyer and a person who has really done some work on leadership and governance. So he has an idea exactly. I think he was part of the task force for devolved government, which created the legislation that is guiding the county governments. So that insight and also his experience in parliament, his experience in leadership in parliament, I think he's a good candidate for that. And also the rest of the team, they're not bad. We need to be able to by this afternoon to know their background. Especially, I'm interested in their integrity issues. I'm interested in the skills. If you take somebody to lands, what skills? Land ministry is another big mystery, and if you ask me, lands, health, education, those big ministries, you need very strong people in terms of managing them, because they are touching on almost everybody and in this Kenyan Republic. So they are very important, and therefore the people who are nominated to those offices must have those required skills. Lands is also another issue. Another issue is public relations, because you're touching the Kenyans. People have been asking for land for years. People are asking for titles. Titles in the ministry take a long time to reach the citizens. So these are some of the issues that the new people moving into these ministries must handle. So Brother Mokomen has a job to do, and he needs to be able to calm down. Let him open his telephone line so that we tell him what is on the ground here, and so that he can have a basis, apart from what the reports he gets from the officers, let him get the reports from the public, so that his decisions are informed, and therefore they are focused on helping the Kenyan people. So we are looking forward for their insights.
Okay, Hamisi, when you look at the Kenya Kwanza manifesto, the president has a plan. So generally, what do you think that these nominees, if appointed and finally they get that green light from Parliament and approved by Parliament and finally appointed by the president, what do you think they should do to marry or merge the policy and action plan to actualize the manifesto of Kenya Kwanza?
One of the things that you do as a minister or as a person, an official in a ministry, is to cascade the plan, national plan, into your department or to your ministry. So they should look at that plan. What does it say? For example, I'll go back to lands. What does that plan say about land? And now formulate your strategies. The strategies are not in the plan from national government. The strategies are yours at the Department of Lands. What strategies would you put in place to be able to address those plans? And then who do you need to be able to address those plans? So that is really management now at the ministerial level. For all these, I think the process is the same. Get the national plan, get your strategies, and get the people who can be able to implement that strategies. Look at the resources, both technical and financial. Do you have them? And if you don't have them, where do you get them? So this is where the management starts. This is where the governance starts. Whom do you pull to make a big difference? That is where the key governance issues are applied at the ministerial level. You need more people than you see in the ministry. You need the national government. What part of the national government do you need? You need the court. Do you need parliament? Do you need all these things? So it's a big job, and somebody has to have a big strategy to be able to address that one. I hope these people can do it well.
All right. Hamisi, before we took a break, we promised to talk about the issue of Chapter 6, one of our yardstick and our guiding principle in the Constitution. But as it is, some of the people have, questionable backgrounds. We discussed that. But nonetheless, chances are that almost all the names will have a nod and ultimately get appointed to serve in the cabinet. So the question is this just an exercise in futility?
Yes and no. I'm saying yes with a lot of restraint. Yes and no, because at least the public will know. If you look at the Constitution of Kenya 2010, it belongs to the citizens. And the citizens have donated the powers of this Constitution to people who will be able to implement. And the people who are, one set of people who will implement the Constitution are the ministers. So the public must keep watch. We have according to the Constitution, we have a role to recall. We have a power and role to recall. A power and role to question. A power and role to be able to say, I think this is not going right. So the citizen, and yesterday I was talking to some other people, this civic education and voter education, has it really sunk into everybody, or we still have a long way to go? So I think that citizens now, given the information that we'll get from this panel, should now formulate areas, information. If you have something about the ministers that are not doing, please let's have a system that will be able to highlight it, not punishing, but also highlighting that this is not right. So I think the public has a big role to do here. The president has already done it, nomination, and the other people are checking the possibility, the integrity, and the Kenyan citizens have a role. We have forgotten our role. Majority of the times, we are letting only a few people do it. This is now the time.
All right. Hamisi, as we come to a close, allow me to ask you to have your final remarks.
One or two things that I wanted to say as my final remarks. We are happy that the election was done. We are happy that the results were given the way they were given. And we are happy that the government is now being formulated. What we're looking forward to is the implementation of the services. But more so, I'm really interested in the promises that the president gave to Kenyans. In Mombasa, he really made us laugh. To give him time now. Mr. President, we want those things you said you'll bring. We want to operate nicely. So as a parting shot, through the president, those ministers that will be given this job, let them implement the promises of the government as said. Otherwise, wananchi, they are just wondering, is it true? If we wait for how long? Therefore, there's a lot of anticipation on the ground here about the promises that the new dispensation said they will do. So we are looking forward to it positively, but also critically. Can they be able to do everything? The question is, how much can they be able to do in what time? So we are looking forward for these kind of things, and I'm happy to be part of this session. The discussion must go on. We must speak positively, but we must highlight anything that we think will not be able to give the Kenyan service provision. I'm very happy to be part of this.
All right. Hamisi, thank you so much for your time and, of course, for your valid insight as far as the show is concerned. That is Hamisi Mboga, who is a governance and policy expert, joining us via Zoom. We've talked about matters national concern and what you should be expecting throughout the day. All right, Hamisi, thank you for that. All right, so just to wrap it up, we saw the swearing in of Amin Mohamed Ibrahim, who is now the new DCI boss, taking over from George Kinoti. And of course, we also saw Nur Gabo, who is now the acting Inspector General of Police, Chairman National Police Service Commission, Eliud Kinuthia, and of course Chief Justice Martha Koome, and that activity, the swearing in ceremony, took place at the Supreme Court of Kenya. Now, not long from now, we will be heading to the County Hall, where the third day of the grilling, the vetting ceremony will be taking place today. Onesmus Kipchumba Murkomen will be taking that hot seat for the Roads, Transport and Public Works docket, followed by Honorable Rosabella Soipan Tuya for Environment and Forestry Cabinet slot. We have Honorable Penina Malonza for Tourism, Wildlife and Heritage, and the fourth one will be Mr. Zekaria Mwangi Njeru for Lands, Housing and Urban Development, and finally we'll have Miss Susan Nakumincha Wafula for the Health docket. That is going to be the order of the day, and of course that committee is headed by Speaker of the National Assembly, who is now Moses Wetangula, there at the County Hall. All right, it's a wrap from me for now. Thank you so much for your valid company from 6:30. It's almost now 9 a.m. and anytime from now we'll be crossing over to County Hall.